Quadir Copeland transfers to McNeese State?
You are Locked On Syracuse, your daily podcast on the Syracuse Orange. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome into Locked On Syracuse. I'm Jackson Holzer, and thank you for making us your first listen of every single day here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day, and we're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And on today's show, Quadir Copeland recently transfers to McNeese State. We're going to break that all down, plus comparing the starting lineup, the projected starting lineup for next season to last year, and which one I think is better. Comment below which one you think is better. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 with any winning $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. All right, so first off, I would just like to apologize real quickly. We were supposed to have 2026 composite 5-star recruit Isaiah Williams on the show. Football, I'm talking about, of course. Confirmed with him this morning about hopping on the podcast, and then something came up, so we're going to have to try to reschedule. So I will keep you in the loop regarding Isaiah Williams and getting him on the podcast. But let's talk now about Quadir Copeland going to McNeese State. And I just want to get this off my chest right off the bat. This was a mutual breakup between Quadir Copeland and Syracuse. This was two sides that did not want to be with each other anymore, from what I've told. From what I've been told from people that I trust, this was a mutual breakup. Okay? So I know people are going to say he could have had a big role for Syracuse next season when you look at their roster right now and how we've talked about how they could use another guard on this team. And yeah, he probably would have a big role, but it was a mutual breakup. Him coming back was really never feasible once he entered the transfer portal. You are allowed to do it. It just wasn't really feasible with Quadir Copeland. And also, there is that elephant in the room. If, in case you haven't seen it though, No Destination caught it on Twitter. They posted something on Instagram about Copeland or about Alan Griffin and getting your popcorn ready regarding the transfer portal. And then Quadir Copeland sends in that laughing emoji on that Instagram post. I don't know why he did that. I don't really want to go any further, but it did happen. I don't know why Quadir Copeland would post something like that. Just didn't really sit well with anyone. Doesn't really sit well with me, but we move on. The other schools that were interested in Quadir Copeland and why this is kind of strange that he's going to McNeese State were Kansas, Kansas State, Memphis, Mississippi State, and NC State. This was according to 24/7 Sports about a month ago when Copeland entered the portal. You look at all those schools, and then you're going to McNeese State. Now, McNeese State was a tournament team last year. They lost to Gonzaga in the first round. They have Will Wade as head coach there, so that's promising for him. But what's really interesting and really weird about this is McNeese State has already brought in, not including Copeland, 2 guards in the transfer portal, one being a 4-star Insincere Parker from St. Louis, I believe, and a 3-star guard in Brandon Murray. I believe he came from Oklahoma. Neither of those guys are point guards, but still, they are guards. So you're going to have to compete a little bit. And then on top of that, yes, McNeese State, I know that they lost their leading scorer from last year, Shahada Wells, but they still retain 2 guys at the guard position that scored over 10 points per game, DJ Richards and Javon Garcia. I know those names might not mean much to you, but what's weird is that Copeland is still going to McNeese State and is going to probably have to earn it. He's going to have to earn the starting job and earn the right to play the minutes he probably desires, which I would guess is 30 plus. He's going to have to earn it based on the roster that they currently have at McNeese State. it's surprisingly pretty strong because I know it's McNeese State. It doesn't jump off the page. This was a mutual breakup. Copeland wasn't coming back. He goes to McNeese State. All right. There it is, right? There it is. So there's your update now with Copeland. Regarding everyone else for Syracuse in the transfer portal, I will refresh your memory. So Malik Brown, he went to Duke. Good opportunity for him there, but they have a lot of good forwards there. So how much is he going to play? I don't know, but it's definitely a great opportunity at Duke. You got Benny Williams going to UCF. You got Justin Taylor going to James Madison. You got Peter Carey going to Siena. There are now only 2 guys from Syracuse basketball's roster last season that entered the transfer portal that have not committed just yet. William Patterson and Munir Hima. We'll see if anything materializes with them. I'll be on top of it if anything happens. But as of right now, neither of those guys are committed. So Quadir Copeland goes to McNeese State, which is a very, very fascinating fit. He's not necessarily going to be guaranteed everything that he probably desired. He's not going to a super desirable school in McNeese State. I know it's better than what you might think, but still, it's McNeese State. And when you compare it to the programs that had reached out to him, Kansas and Kansas State and Memphis and Mississippi State, NC State, even Syracuse. He's coming from Syracuse before the mutual breakup. Just seems odd. He was the runner-up for the 6th man of the year, and I've been told things, rumors about him in class, and I don't know how many of those are actually true or not, but it's just, I wish I had more answers other than saying it's kind of weird. That's just my honest thought. It's just weird. But I wish him nothing but the best. I hope he finds what he's looking for at McNeese State. So best of luck to Quadir Copeland. Syracuse still could use another guard, and if it was not a mutual breakup, I would have definitely liked Quadir Copeland coming back to Syracuse. Wouldn't it be great if you could see all of your investment and retirement accounts in one place? With Yahoo Finance, you can consolidate your views from multiple accounts into one hub and access the expert analysis you need to tend to your entire portfolio with confidence. I have an investment account with Schwab and a 401k with Fidelity, and I've been using Yahoo Finance to consolidate them in one place, which has made it incredibly easy to manage them. For more than 25 years, Yahoo Finance has been the brand behind every great investor. Whether you're a seasoned investor or are looking for that extra guidance, Yahoo Finance gives you all the tools and data you need in one place. They are the number one finance destination, producing a holistic look at the financial news cycle, including breaking news, original editorial perspectives, analyst ratings, independent research, customizable charts, and so much more. Securely link your brokerage accounts for a unified view of your wealth, including 401k and other investments. A comprehensive perspective is what sets apart great investors, and it's how Yahoo Finance ensures you have the insight to look at your wealth in its entirety. With a community of over 90 million users each month, their real strength is helping you on your way to financial success. For comprehensive financial news and analysis, visit the brand behind every great investor, yahoofinance.com. The number one financial destination, yahoofinance.com. That's yahoofinance.com. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Have to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Welcome back, everyone, into Locked On Syracuse. I'm Jackson Holzer, and on today's show, we have gone over Quadir Copeland and the interesting, weird, fascinating, whatever you want to call it, fit with McNeese State. Copeland taking his talents to McNeese State in the transfer portal. And now, kind of shifting gears, we're going to compare the starting lineup that is projected for this season to last year. And like I said off the top of the show, leave a comment below which lineup you think is better. this year's projected lineup or last year's starting lineup. So let's get right to it. The projected starting lineup for this season, because we have to start with that. The point guard is probably going to be Jaquan Carlos at this point. Shooting guard, J.J. Starling. Small forward, Chris Bell. Power forward, Donnie Freeman. And the center is Eddie Lampkin. So that's the starting lineup projected as of now. Of course, Syracuse can still add in the transfer portal, and we'll get to that in a second. What I like about this projected starting lineup is you got two excellent passers. You got two of them. We know about Jaquan Carlos, right? He's a true point guard, floor general from Hofstra. That's all we've talked about with him. That's anything that you'll read online, anything that you'll watch on any other channel is Jaquan Carlos is a floor general. He knows how to distribute. He led his conference in assists last season. He's also an all-conference defender. So you got a good passer in Carlos. But the sneaky one, and I remember when I made the podcast about this guy saying he's a good passer, he's got a good assist rate here, that's Eddie Lampkin. He's a very solid passer. This is someone who you can give the ball down low and you can build the offense from the inside out because he has that ability to be able to kick the ball out to anyone. He's a solid passer. Now, does have a little bit of a problem with turnovers, but at the same time, there's a give and take with that. They do have a center who can really pass the ball. So you got two excellent passers in the starting lineup. You also have, I think, two guys who can create their own shot in it. You have two, I think. We know that J.J. Starling can create his own shot. And maybe Donnie Freeman. The reason why I say maybe is because I said we should have very high expectations for Donnie Freeman, being that he is number 6 in the ESPN 100. He recently earned his 5th star from, I want to say Rivals gave it to him now. So every major recruiting website has him as a 5-star recruit. At the same time, we haven't seen him yet do it in college, but I suspect he is someone who is going to be able to create his own shot at all 3 levels on the floor. So you do have two guys that can do that, and they should be okay in rebounding. I don't think they're going to be top of the ACC, but when you look at their lineup, Donnie Freeman and Eddie Lampkin, that's pretty good rebounding duo right there. Donnie was a very good rebounder in high school, and Eddie Lampkin averaged 7 boards for Colorado last year, so he's pretty good. And Jaquan Carlos, underrated rebounder too. 4 rebounds a game at Hofstra last year. He's not going to do that next year at Syracuse, but it is certainly encouraging. So you have a few really solid elements to this lineup, but you do have some weaknesses, and it's mostly on defense. Defense is a weakness of this projected starting lineup. When I look at it right now, Carlos is an all-conference defender. Donnie Freeman should be a really good defender. But outside of that, you're not going to have all 5 players in your starting lineup be able to do everything. But the fact that there's only 2 guys really in the lineup who project to be plus defenders next year is not a very good sign so far. You got J.J. Starling, who's so-so on the defensive end. He has his moments, but also I remember that Clemson game at the end of the year. Wasn't very good on the defensive side of the ball. Became almost unplayable. You got Chris Bell, who's a knockdown shooter. He is an ace. But I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Not a great defender. He just can't really move his feet well. And Eddie Lampkin, 5 blocks all year last year at Colorado. Blocks are not everything. Steals are not everything. The stats with defense aren't the full picture. Unless they're goofy. You get that? So if you only have 5 blocks in a 30-plus game season, that's not very good. That's kind of interesting for a guy that is 6'11", and you have 5 blocks all year as a starting center playing over 25 minutes a night. That tells you he's not the greatest defender in the world, so they do need some defense there. And this is just the last thing. It's not really quantitative. But they need more oomph. They need oomph in that starting lineup. They just need they need more. Like I like all 5 of these players, but when I look particularly at the point guard, for as much as I rave about Jaquan Carlos, I think he would be so much better as the backup point guard. If they can just get one more guy, one more really impactful player that you can put in the starting lineup, this is golden. It would be golden because they got some good in there. You got Starling is good. You got Bell. You got Donnie, who's hopefully really good. That would solve a lot of problems. And Eddie Lampkin's pretty good. Carlos is okay. You need oomph. I think you just need a little bit more of that. So when I look at the lineup for this season, their strengths are that they have some excellent passers, they got a knockdown shooter, and they have 2 guys that can create their own shot in it, which is pretty good, and they should be a decent rebounding lineup. But the weaknesses, well, they're not going to be the greatest on the defensive end as of right now, and they just need a little bit more firepower, in my opinion. Now, coming up, we'll review last year's starting lineup, and then I'll give my answer as to which starting lineup I think is better. It's winner take all time in the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel is giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and more. And Syracuse football fans, I know from hearing everything out there, there's a lot of optimism with you guys. And listen, if you're one of those people who think that Syracuse football is going to win 10 games next year, or at least 10 games next year, maybe you have them in the college football playoff. I'm not going to go that far. But if you're one of those people, I highly suggest going on FanDuel and betting Syracuse to win the ACC at plus 4,500 because you're already saying that they're going to do really well. So why not try to cash in on this opportunity at plus 4,500 for Syracuse to win the ACC next season? Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make every playoff shot count. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and now it's also available on Amazon Fire TV in the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channels app. Welcome back, everyone, into Locked On Syracuse. I'm Jackson Holzer, and we went over Quadir Copeland transferring to McNeese State. We talked about the projected starting lineup as of right now for Syracuse basketball, what's good about it, what's bad about it, and what Syracuse could still use in the lineup. And now let's go over last year's starting lineup, pre-Naheem McLeod injury and then post-Naheem McLeod injury, and then which starting lineup is better. And comment below once again which one you think is better. Which one would you take? Would you take this year's or last year's starting lineup? All right. So last year, before the Naheem McLeod injury, the starting lineup for Syracuse was Judah Mintz, J.J. Starling, Chris Bell, Justin Taylor, and Naheem McLeod. So, and then the post Naheem McLeod injury, you had Judah Mintz, J.J. Starling, Chris Bell, Justin Taylor, and then Malik Brown became the starting center. I think people forget that Malik Brown, I believe for the first 14 games of the season, did not start. He didn't start for the first 14 games of the season. He started after the Naheem McLeod injury. I believe his first one came in that Boston College game. That was his first start, and he never left the starting lineup after that. The good of the lineup from last year, and this can apply to both starting lineups, is that you did have the top-end talent. You did have that oomph. You had Judah Mintz, who was an all-ACC guard. He was terrific. I thought he should have been on the first team. Of course, now he can't come back. He declared for the NBA while hiring an agent. Therefore, he cannot come back to Syracuse. But you had that oomph in the lineup, someone who you really had to key on if you were the opponent. And you had multiple guys in the lineup that can shoot, or not that can shoot, that can create their own shot. Multiple guys in the lineup that can create their own shot. That was J.J. Starling and Judah Mintz, of course. Then we kind of get to, there was a knockdown shooter too. I'm missing Chris Bell because, Chris Bell, he's a good shooter, obviously. We talked about him, though, last segment, and then Malik Brown. We'll get to that in a moment, but here's where the bad comes in. You always had a player playing out of position. Always did. The whole year, they had at least one player in the lineup. When Naheem McLeod was healthy, you had Justin Taylor playing out of position. What does that cause? It causes the lineup to generally be undersized. As a result, you're probably not going to be a very good rebounding team, which they weren't. So that's for starters. And then post Naheem McLeod injury, Malik Brown is a very, very good player who can defend at an exceptionally high level and can score a little bit. But he was asked to be the center. And so now you had two guys in the starting lineup that were asked to play out of position. Two. That's not very good. All right? You can't have multiple guys in one lineup playing out of position. It's just not going to work. And on top of that, you had a zero in the lineup. You had a zero. You had the oomph of Judah Mintz, and then you had a zero. And that is Justin Taylor. He just did not have a very good year, and he was in the starting lineup for whatever reason. Behooves me. Wasn't his fault, but it wasn't his fault that he was in the starting lineup, but he was in the starting lineup. So that's not very good that you had someone who really couldn't do much for you in the starting lineup. So when I compare it to this year's lineup, I'm going to say that for the strengths and weaknesses of both of them, that this year's projected starting lineup, even without any additions to the team, and they're probably going to come, they have 3 open scholarships left, that this year's projected starting lineup is better than last year. It's just more balanced. It's more balanced. You don't have any zeros. Everyone in that lineup can make a positive impact. Every single one of them. You don't have any guy playing out of position. Everyone is where they are supposed to be. They're all there, right? You have Carlos right now as the point guard. You have J.J. Starling at shooting guard. Chris Bell is staying the small forward. At power forward, Donnie Freeman. What was he in high school? A power forward. And center, you have Eddie Lampkin. Everyone is where they are supposed to be. They're all there. So last year, you had the top-end talent with Judah Mintz, and you don't have that for next season. You don't have a guy that can really just score almost on command. I'm not going to say on command because he wasn't that great. But you have, it's more balanced. More guys can make a positive impact in this year's starting lineup than last year. Period, end of story. I think the defense is about a wash from last season, to be completely honest with you, because they weren't a great defensive team last year anyway. So I don't see how they really got any worse on the defensive side of the ball. It's more like they just haven't upgraded it enough. I'm going to take this year's starting lineup over last season, and I don't really think it's that close. I really don't. I don't, especially because even this is something I forgot to mention, but even the pre-Naheem McLeod injury, Naheem McLeod was the starting center, and now he's the backup center. He's still on the roster, so that's a position upgrade right there at center. You upgraded your power forward. This is a better starting lineup than last season. Now, that is it for today's episode. We talked about a wide variety of topics, I guess. Well, not really a wide variety. We talked about Copeland going to McNeese State, and then we compared the starting lineups between the two. I ultimately conclude that this year is better than last year. They can still add to it, and if they add to it, it would only cement that they are going to be a better team next season. Not going to give away too much, though, because Poll Friday's question is which roster you think is going to be better. That'll be on Friday at 6 p.m., so look out for that. But anyways, Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. If you like this video, click that like button. And if you really liked it, subscribe to the channel and turn on those notifications so you know right away when I am dropping the next podcast. Once again, I just want to say I apologize for not having Isaiah Williams, the 2026 Syracuse football 5-star recruit, or commit, so to speak. Sorry that he wasn't on the show for tonight. He was supposed to be. I confirmed with him this morning, but then something came up. So we're going to try to reschedule that, and I will keep you guys in the loop if and when I can get him on the podcast. So once again, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening, and everyone, take care.